Welcome back to episode 5 of Reimagine Leadership, Unlocking Human Potential and Organizational Brilliance. I'm Dr. Carol Talbot, and this episode focuses on something that challenges not just how you eat, but how you live. What if nourishment isn't limited to what's on your plate? And what if you could fuel your body and mind from sources beyond physical food? So this episode explores the profound concept of energy nourishment, harnessing life force from the sun, air, earth, and even your thoughts. By the end of this episode, you'll walk away with actionable strategies to identify what drains you and what fuels you, as well as apply powerful energy practices to enhance your clarity, creativity, and influence. So sit back, open your mind, and let's reimagine nourishment together. Imagine soaring above an emerald sea, dense rainforest stretching endlessly into the horizon. In a small plain, high above the world, you see life in its raw, unfiltered form. You descend, and the energy of the rainforest hits you, not just visually, not just emotionally, also physically. You feel the pulse of life itself. Now that's exactly how I felt when I visited the Ecuadorian rainforest, and in that moment, I realized something profound. Energy is life. It's nourishment, it's vitality. And most importantly, energy isn't just about food, sleep, or caffeine. It's about something far deeper, something that affects how you lead, how you show up, and how you inspire others. You know, as leaders, we often focus on managing time, blocking calendars, scheduling tasks, maximizing productivity. Imagine a sponge soaking up water. That's what my body felt like in that moment, absorbing energy from the air, the earth, the sounds, and the colors. And it's easy to forget that nourishment goes beyond calories, vitamins, or minerals. Every breath you take, every ray of sunlight you feel, and every moment you spend grounded to the earth carries an energy signature that your cells respond to. When was the last time you felt truly nourished without food? Was it a sunrise, maybe a walk in nature, or even just a moment of stillness? In today's hyper-productive world, many leaders obsess over outward performance, metrics, appearance, efficiency, while ignoring the invisible system that drives all of it, cellular energy. Now, let's be clear. Your body doesn't run on food. It runs on energy. And more precisely, it runs on ATP, adenosine triphosphate, the molecular fuel produced by your cells. And here's the key. Food doesn't directly give you energy. It has to go through a complex, metabolically demanding process to be broken down into ATP. And most people don't realize how much energy is spent just digesting and detoxifying what they consume. And that's even more so when that food is laden with additives, preservatives, processed sugars and chemicals, because the body prioritizes detoxification over cellular regeneration. In other words, the limited energy it extracts from that food is often immediately consumed, dealing with its toxic load, so not supporting your brain, your body, or your leadership. Even worse, toxic food doesn't just deplete your energy, it interferes with DNA repair. Your cells rely on a continuous supply of clean energy to maintain, repair, and replicate your DNA. When that energy is compromised, so is your ability to regenerate, to think clearly, and to lead effectively. And over time, this leads to premature aging, decision fatigue, emotional instability, and even epigenetic damage. And nourishment is not just physical, it's frequency-based. Food carries an energy signature based on how it was grown, how it was harvested, transported, and prepared. So a piece of fruit ripened under the sun and picked with care has a different frequency to one that's grown with pesticides, packaged in plastic, and processed in a factory. Now, when you consume food, you're merging its frequency with your own. So if the food's frequency is coherent, alive, and in harmony with nature, then it supports your field. If it's chaotic, deadened, or artificially modified, then it introduces dissonance, and this blending of energy either elevates or disrupts your biofield, which directly affects your cognition, coherence, and your leadership presence. That's perhaps why many ancient cultures blessed their food before eating, not as ritual, but as energetic calibration. So blessing food isn't about superstition, it's about raising its frequency, infusing it with intention, and aligning it with your own field so your system receives nourishment rather than interference. Now, as a leader, your energy is your asset, and your energy is only as clean as your inputs. So if you're fueling your body with dead food, synthetic drinks, and emotionally chaotic meals, you're building your leadership on a foundation of energetic distortion. So ask yourself, am I eating for convenience or for coherence? Is my nourishment restoring me or draining me? Am I feeding my performance or my potential? You know, in the new paradigm of leadership, nourishment, as I said, isn't just about calories. It's more about coherence, and the more you align with life force energy, the more powerfully you lead. The latest research in biophysics and mitochondrial biology shows that the human body is not just a chemical system, it's an electrical and light-based system. Mitochondria do more than just produce ATP. They emit biophotons, packets of light that regulate cellular communication and vitality. So when you're aligned, grounded, and energetically nourished, your body literally emits more coherent light. And when depleted, then that signal weakens. This has direct implications for leadership. A leader with high energy coherence is much more intuitive, emotionally regulated, and inspiring. One who's depleted, while they may still perform on the outside, they become energetically brittle, and people feel that disconnect. A 2021 study from the Institute of Heart Math demonstrated that leaders with high heart rate variability, HRV, an indicator of nervous system coherence, creates more trust, more engagement, and emotional stability in their teams. So, heart rate variability is not built through coffee and cortisol. It's built through breath, grounding, stillness, and inner alignment. In other words, energy nourishment. So energy nourishment is more than a wellness trend. It's a leadership discipline. It's the difference between reacting and responding, between broadcasting clarity or transmitting chaos. So just stop and ask yourself, are your decisions coming from inner alignment or from urgency? Are your days filled with forced output or fueled by inner resonance? Energy really is the leadership currency of the future. And the question is no longer how much you're doing, it's how well you're fueling the field you lead from. So let's take a journey, and not just across geography, across mindset. In regions known as blue zones, people do more than just live longer, they live better. Places like Okinawa in Japan, Sardinia in Italy, Ikaria in Greece, Nicoya, Costa Rica, and Lorna Linda in California. All of these are homes to the world's healthiest, most vibrant centenarians. They experience lower rates of chronic disease, mental decline, and burnout, even into their 90s and beyond. So what's their secret? Well, it's not just about what they eat, it's about how they live. So yes, Blue Zone residents consume predominantly plant-based diets and follow practices like Hara Hachibu, eating until 80% full. But the deeper nourishment comes from their relationship with life itself. They move naturally throughout the day, stay deeply embedded in community, and wake up with a sense of purpose. So they find nourishment in more than just food, but also in movement, purpose, and connection. An elder from Okinawa once said, "We eat until we're satisfied, not until we're full." So they honor their bodies, listen to their hunger cues, and then nourish themselves energetically through their community, laughter, and time outdoors. So start paying attention to how you eat rather than just what you eat. So are you eating out of habit, boredom, or genuine hunger? Studies from the Blue Zones project reveal that lifestyle factors, not genetics, account for up to 90% of lifespan variability. And that means longevity is not inherited, it's cultivated. It's the byproduct of small, consistent choices that support energetic vitality, social coherence, and inner purpose. So as a leader, ask yourself, what if your organization could become a Blue Zone? Not just a place of productivity, but a culture of coherence, a living ecosystem where people are not just employed, they're also energized. And imagine replacing ideas of team building days with something far more regenerative, a power-packed immersion that nourishes the nervous system, restores vitality, and elevates consciousness. So in other words, an energetic daycation. Instead of another slide deck on soft skills, what if your team experienced movement that reactivates life force, like Qigong, somatic stretching or dance? Breathwork sessions that regulate the nervous system and increase cellular oxygenation? Or sound healing and toning to bring both the body and brain into coherence? Energetic food, so meals prepared with intention, vitality, and aligned frequency, as well as conversation circles that nourish connection as well as psychological safety. And of course, nature immersion to reset circadian rhythms and reattune to natural resonance. Now, these aren't luxuries, they're the tools for regenerative leadership. Leaders who prioritize energy nourishment create teams that are resilient, healthy, inspired, and coherent. The return on investment? Well, a lower absent rate, greater innovation, higher retention, and also something less quantifiable, yet far more powerful. A workplace people want to return to each day. Now, some of the world's most forward-thinking companies are already integrating these practices. At Google's Search Inside Yourself program, employees begin meetings with mindfulness. At Salesforce, executives practice forest bathing and intentional gratitude rituals. These aren't wellness add-ons, they're energetic recalibrations for high-performance environments. So what would it take to reimagine your organization as a Blue Zone for business? Where can you embed energetic nourishment into your culture, beyond snacks in the break room or a yoga app subscription? Because in the end, longevity isn't just a number, it's a frequency you live from, and the organizations of the future won't just be efficient, they'll be energized. If blue zones teach us anything, it's that vitality is more than the product of a miracle gene. It's the natural outcome of environments, mindsets, and lifestyles aligned with the life force energy. And what if we could go even further, beyond longevity into regeneration, beyond sustenance into direct communion with life itself? Modern science is beginning to validate that the human body is more than a mechanical system. It's a conscious, energetic interface, and this opens up a radical possibility. Could energy, not food, become your primary fuel? So let's explore this frontier through the lens of cellular intelligence, subtle nourishment, and a growing body of research on intermittent fasting, dry fasting, and even the extraordinary practice of source feeding, something that I've been practicing for over a year now. Your body is a resonant field, constantly absorbing, transmitting, and responding to energy. Every cell functions like a micro-instrument in a vast symphony, producing and using ATP, adenosine triphosphate, as its main fuel. Now, as I mentioned earlier, your cells don't get energy directly from food. So your cells are not dependent on food alone. Scientists like Gerald Pollack have shown that water inside your cells, specifically structured water, or what he terms the fourth phase of water, acts like a battery, storing and releasing energy in response to sunlight, infrared light, and even subtle electromagnetic frequencies. His research suggests your cells can harvest energy directly from light and directly from movement. And likewise, Rupert Sheldrake's work on morphic fields also proposes that biological systems are not closed loops. They're constantly exchanging information with surrounding energy fields. This aligns with ancient teachings that describe the human as a multidimensional antenna, not just consuming, but also tuning into frequencies for nourishment, healing, and coherence. So your cells are not just fed by matter, they're conductors of light and sound, which means every thought, every breath, every emotion sends out a vibration, a frequency into the system. So loving thoughts organize your cellular music. Fear and overstimulation scramble the signal. If your body is a cellular symphony, then clarity, stillness, and coherence are more than just indulgences. They are high-performance tools. A distorted field leads to reactive leadership, while a clear signal creates visionary leadership. So what frequencies are you feeding your field with each day? Through food, thought, breath, and environment. So before leaping into the concept of source feeding, let's ground it in this practice that bridges the physical with the energetic, because these methods have been around for centuries, accessible and increasingly validated by science. So the first practice for energy nourishment is sunlight, photonic fuel for the body. Sunlight isn't just good for vitamin D production, it's a primary source of energy activation in the human body, influencing biological processes well beyond the skin. And one of the most fascinating discoveries in this space comes from Dr. Gerald Pollack that I mentioned earlier. He's a bioengineer at the University of Washington. And his research revealed that water inside our cells isn't just liquid. It forms a special fourth phase of water, different from solid, liquid, or vapor. And this is called exclusion zone water. Now, exclusion zone water forms next to water-loving surfaces inside the body, like cell membranes. And when exposed to sunlight especially infrared light, this structured water expands and begins to store and transmit energy, much like a battery. So it creates a negative charge inside the cell and repels impurities, hence the term exclusion zone. And this structured water not only enhances ATP production in mitochondria, it also improves cellular communication and detoxification, and it acts as a bridge between physical energy and subtle vibrational input. In essence, your cells do more than just absorb sunlight for vitamin D. They harvest light as a direct fuel for the body's energetic system. So that's why practices like sun gazing, gently looking toward the sun during sunrise or sunset, have been revered in yogic and ancient traditions. If you are sun gazing, make sure it's sunset or sunrise, because that's when the UV rays are least harmful. Now, this isn't just symbolic. It also stimulates the pineal gland, which helps regulate circadian rhythms, and of course it may even enhance your body's ability to absorb and utilize subtle light-based energy. So you're more than a consumer of matter, you're a receiver of light, and sunlight, quite literally, powers your inner bioelectric engine. The next step for practical energy nourishment is earthing, getting electrical nutrition from the earth. Walking barefoot on natural surfaces allows the body to absorb free electrons from the earth, and it reduces inflammation as well as stabilizing the nervous system. There was some research published in the Journal of Environment and Public Health, and it shows that earthing reduces cortisol, improves heart rate variability, as well as enhances sleep. Then there's breath work, cellular oxygenation, and emotional alchemy. You know, breath is one of the fastest ways to shift your energy field, and techniques like pranayama or Wim Hof breathing or coherent breathing influences the autonomic nervous system. It balances pH levels and it elevates DMT production in the pineal gland. And oxygen, after all, is a primary fuel for ATP synthesis. Then there's energized water. Water is not just H2O, it's an information carrier. When exposed to sunlight, intention, or sound frequencies like the solfeggio tones, water's structure can change, affecting how it interacts with your cells. In fact, Dr. Masaru Emoto's experiments showed that water molecules respond to human emotion, human intention, and vibration and frequencies. My suggestion is choose one of these 4 practices and commit to it daily for the next week, and then document how your clarity, energy, and your focus shift, not just physically, also energetically. Now let's stretch the boundary of what nourishment really means. The concept of source feeding, also known as living on prana, chi, or being a breatharian, it's been practiced and documented by mystics for centuries. In recent decades, individuals like Jasmaheen, Hira Ratan Manak, Prahlad Jani, they've all claimed to live for weeks, months, or even years and decades without conventional food, sustained instead by light, breath, and energetic practices. Now, of course, there are different levels to consider. So for myself, I'm one of over 200,000 what's called level 3 breatharians in the world. So I do know it's possible. And while this challenges mainstream biology, research is beginning to close the gap between myth and mechanism. What some emerging research and insights do show is dry fasting, which is where individuals abstain from both food and water for short periods. This has been shown to accelerate autophagy, a natural cellular self-cleaning process where the body breaks down and recycles damaged cells to make way for newer, healthier ones. And this enhances regeneration, reduces inflammation, and it can even stimulate stem cell production for deep repair. Then there's intermittent fasting, which is the practice of cycling between periods of eating and periods of fasting. And this has also been shown to improve mitochondrial density, boosting your cell's energy factories, so to speak, enhance insulin sensitivity, and activate genes linked to longevity and cellular repair. Now, common methods for this include the 16 to 8 pattern, which means 16 hours of fasting and then there's an 8-hour eating window, or the 5 to 2 method, eating normally 5 days a week and then significantly reducing calories on 2 non-consecutive days. And then there's experiments in biophotonics and quantum biology, which suggests the body may be capable of absorbing subtle energy fields as fuel, bypassing the need for dense matter in some cases. Now look, just a caveat here. Source feeding and that path is certainly not for everyone, and nor should it be approached without deep preparation and guidance. It's more of a philosophy because it invites us to redefine what it means to nourish the body and nourish the mind. And even without becoming pranic, most people can radically upgrade their energy by releasing the dependency on constant consumption. So could your next energetic upgrade come not from adding more, but from subtracting? Could you begin to explore intermittent emptiness as a way to actually increase inner power? As a leader, your influence isn't just in your words, your strategies, or your decisions. It's in your field, your presence, your frequency. And when your energy is grounded, vibrant, and coherent, others don't just notice it, they entrain to it. In other words, you become a living blueprint for what's possible, and that blueprint either uplifts and regenerates, or it drains and distorts. Think of your team as a sensitive ecosystem. If you're depleted, distracted, or energetically scattered, your field broadcasts that dissonance, even if your words sound inspiring. Yet when you prioritize your own energy nourishment through light, breath, clean water, maybe fasting, movement, and intentional stillness, you begin to radiate coherence. And in leadership, coherence is power. You wouldn't run a high-performance machine without managing its fuel, charge, and internal circuitry. So why treat your body or your team any differently? Start treating your energetic hygiene like your most important leadership KPI. Schedule stillness as non-negotiable. Integrate microdoses of breathwork between meetings. And replace fatigue-driven snacking with sunlight, movement, or grounding. Remember, your energy sets the resonant frequency of your organization. Energy nourishment is about how you breathe, how you move, how you feel, and how you relate to life itself. In other words, it's the unseen architecture of vitality. You know, we've inherited a model of nourishment based on consumption and depletion. Eat more, do more, push more. What if you started seeing energy as your primary currency? Because your cells already do. They respond not only to calories, they respond to coherence, to frequency. So imagine your body as a smartphone. Food is one charging method, and it's not the only one. Practices like sun exposure, earthing, breathwork, and structured water are like wireless chargers, constantly available, clean, and regenerative. And unlike food, they nourish you without draining your system. So what would your leadership look like if it was powered by light, clarity, and stillness? What could your organization become if it was structured around vibrancy instead of burnout? So choose one energy nourishment practice and integrate it into your daily rhythm, maybe for the next 7 days, and track how it affects your clarity, resilience, and presence. And maybe share this episode with someone in your circle who's ready to evolve their definition of nourishment from calories to coherence. And then join me again as I continue the Reimagine Leadership series here on the Possibility Hub, and let's explore the next dimension of conscious influence. Remember, leadership is frequency, and you have the power to nourish from the source, not just the plate.